Hello, Alexandra Houchin. How's it
Hey,
going?
Valerie, it's good.
My name is Valerie Ruiz. I'm here at the Chumba headquarters. Super excited to be here and having Alexandra join us. We're going to chat a little bit, mostly about her film, Stronger Together, a little bit on the Tour Divide, the Triple Crown, and just kind of bike life stuff, your journey, your body journey. Yeah, several things I feel like we have lined up for this chat.
Cool. I spy my bike in the background there
Tour Divide bike.
in a little bit of disrepair, but someday I think it'll get ridden again.
It's so cool. I can't believe that I am talking to you and I've seen photos of you. You're like one of my newest amazing favorite people. It's no big deal. Just
Yeah,
here,
be
just here.
cool. Be cool.
Um, well, yeah, tell us what you have been up to. I know you're getting ready for the Arizona Trail race.
Yeah, I just got to Tucson, Arizona a couple days ago, and my partner Johnny and myself are shacked up in an Airbnb with our friend Katya. And we're all kind of just like hanging out and talking Arizona Trail every day, all the time, getting ready to like sweat our guts out and then freeze our guts out and, do the thing.
Well, that's super exciting. I can't wait to, for the first time, maybe I'll start dot watching.
Yeah,
Um,
you can follow the race on Track Leaders. I hear it's really exhilarating.
I hear other people getting excited by watching it, like just friends of mine who are really, really into racing and ultra endurance racing. And it's always like, you know, all the whispers here and there, like this dot, and like, is anyone watching this time? So it's going to be extra exciting, I think, now to do my first dot watching after having this chat with you. And yeah, well, thank you again so much for being here. I'll just get to our questions. We have, I guess, maybe a little bit of limited time. Um, so if you're okay with that, I'll get to the questions.
Yeah, I'll try to like be mindful. I'm a talker. So let's do it.
Okay. Thank you for, yes, mentioning that. I actually had not looked at the time. So okay, 5:17. We'll see where we go. Um, okay, so my first question is straight to it. You, I think, have been like super inspiring to a lot of people. I've been following you for, I think, just maybe now over a year or so. And your perseverance is truly admirable. In your film, you discuss your preparation for ultra endurance racing, mentioning important components like having tough mindset, intention, sacrifice, and honesty. Could you elaborate a bit more on what you mean when you say honesty?
Yeah. I think there's like a lot of aspects to that, all the things that you listed off, but thinking about honesty. So I'm a citizen of the Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior, Ojibwe, and a lot of like my guiding principles come back to are like the seven grandfather teachings, and honesty is one of those teachings. So I try to think about it in that sense, and that sense is like it boils down to this idea that you should use your special gifts, like whatever makes you you, to walk through this world, to like be authentically yourself. Don't try to present as somebody else. Don't try to be somebody else. Just be who you are because you're given a special talent or gift, or there's something that makes you you that only exists within you, and it matters. And trying to like repress it or lie about it or whatever to deny it doesn't really do you any good or your community. So I kind of think about honesty in the sense of just being who I am, which is like super hard anyways. It's really hard to like be yourself when you see XYZ person doing this thing or that thing and they seem successful, and like, why can't you be successful? But it's like you just have to be you, except like whatever gift you have, and do the best that you can to like give back to your community. So like in a spiritual way, I think about it in that sense, and then in a practical way, like that's kind of why I stick to the single speed. I feel like it keeps me honest. It's like if I don't have the fitness, I don't have the fitness, and there's like no pretending that I have. It's like, you know, you put in the work before the race, and all the races is just kind of a display of all the work that you've put in. And sometimes it displays that I didn't put enough work in before the race, or you know, whatever else. But yeah, just kind of this idea of not lying to myself. Like, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I got, and this is what I put into this. And that's what you get out of it.
That's so cool. That's cool I never thought about like single speed that way. Not that I know a ton about single speed, but I guess just having that like consistent gauge for yourself with single speed, I guess being on and as opposed to, I imagine like changing gears and realizing like, oh, I was constantly in this gear, you know, or having to like gauge like, well, did I do better in this gear or that gear, or you know, where was I, or yeah, just I
Yeah,
imagine.
I was having a conversation about this just the other day, of being like, you know, I did the Colorado Trail race on a 32-23, which is a little bit easier, like more spinny than the usual gear that I ride it on, which is a 32-22, which is a little harder. And I was just kind of reflecting. I was like, you know, I think I could go faster on the CT if I was like physically fit enough to push that harder gear. But the reality is that I just get too fatigued early on and end up walking a lot more. So like I had my fastest year ever this year, but also had like the easiest, most spinny gearing. Whereas like I was spun out on any mildly flat section, where I'm like, if I could just push like a harder gear and a harder situation, you know, that's part of like the keeping yourself honest. It's like the reality is I want those things for myself, but you know, I'm not there in the work part of it yet. So.
Oh, that's so cool. Thanks for that. All right, moving on to our next question. Also in your film, you spoke about your bike life in Madison and the richness of your experience there. You didn't touch too much on it, but a little bit on it, and it definitely like struck a chord with me. You mentioned that you bought your first fixie. I wasn't sure if you mentioned it in that film or was something else that I read. But it sounds like there's a bit of a fascinating story in that buying your first bike. Was it your first bike?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
the first. Yeah, that fixed gear was the first bike I ever purchased on my own, and it kind of just like happened. I had gotten a bike that like I used to ride as a kid, or you know, as a teenager with my grandparents, and they gave it to me when I moved away to the big city. And it was just like a Schwinn Varsity or something. But I rode that thing around for a while until it got stolen. And then I had just kind of started getting into bikes and thinking it was like a cool way to commute instead of having to drive or take the bus. I thought it was fun. I thought it like introduced more fun into my life, and then also like took away the stress of parking in downtown Madison was crazy. And like just trying to get all these places where it was so congested with traffic. I was like, it is literally just faster for me to ride my bike. But a lot of the bike part was like how cool I looked and how cool I seemed. Like I wanted to make friends. I didn't have any friends in Madison. And I noticed like everybody was riding the bike with like I was like those curly cute bars, like drop bars. I just thought everybody looked so cool, and I wanted to be cool too. But like the bikes on Craigslist were like $300 or $400. And I was like, I can't afford to spend that much money on a bike. And I found this one bike that was very cute. It had a blue front tire and a white rim and like this yellow handlebar tape, and it was a black frame. And I thought it was so cute, but in the ad it said fixie, and like I didn't know. I didn't know what that meant. I thought he like fixed it up. So I went and picked it up from him, and he's like, oh, there's no front brake, or like I didn't put a front brake on there because it's not true to it. And I was like, oh, okay, so it must be like a coaster brake or like a rear brake or whatever. And I got it to my apartment and I was like, well, I think I'll go try this. Didn't know if it was the right size. Literally didn't know anything about it, but it was cute. And I got on it. I was wearing like my pajama, my baggy like my baggy pajama sweatpants. Started having, and then all of a sudden realized a direct drive. Like if I pedal, like I couldn't coast. It was just always moving. And then like my pant leg got caught in it and it like ripped my pants off, and I didn't have underwear on, and I was just like walking around pantsless with this bike. I was like, I am never gonna ride this bike ever again. And it like sat in my apartment for a while until it was like talking to me. It was like, hey, come ride me. And I just got into like the brakeless hipster fixed gear riding scene, and I'd like ride it to school. I was going to like the community college in Madison, and I like rode it to school one day, and this guy was like, I've never seen a girl ride a brakeless fixie. And I was like, yeah, totally. No, like I still had no idea that was like a cool thing. But yeah, he worked at Jimmy John's. I ended up getting a job at Jimmy John's delivering sandwiches, and you know, the rest is history.
Is it drop bar? Dixie?
No, it had like the bull horns. So like I held it up here.
Yeah, those are so cool.
Yeah, they looked cool. Even though they weren't the drop bars, they like looked cooler than like the nerdy bars.
Nice. I think that was like the first fixie that I rode had those cool bars. Someone I worked with had a bike, and I was like, oh, I want to ride your bike. And I didn't know it was a fixie. And I was like, shit, like this is very interesting. So I love that story. Especially I had to ask you.
Yeah.
All right, next question. So you express a lot of joy when you talk about being on your bike. I think especially when you're doing the ultra endurance races. Could you share more about your excitement and preparation for the upcoming Arizona Trail race?
Whew. Yeah, try to keep the response even short. It's been such a wild year chasing this Triple Crown Challenge goal of mine, which like, you know, I would tell people even just a month ago, like if you asked me a month ago what my biggest dream in life was, it would be to do the Triple Crown. And like as I'm going through it, it's just like really revealing a lot more deep, complex truths to myself than I thought I'd learn. You know, I was like, oh, they're just bike races. I've already done all of them a million times. But there's something about setting out in a single year to do all three of them. It's just a lot. So Tour Divide had me out, really wrung me out emotionally. Lots of highs, lots of lows, lots of really extreme lows, fewer highs. But it was just really emotional and made me question like everything I thought I knew about myself. And that led me to the Colorado Trail. That was like also full of a lot of self-doubt and insecurity and just like curiosity of like, do I even like racing my bike anymore? Am I really that bike racer chick that I thought I was? And then I did the CT, super awesome. And now I'm like getting ready. I'm in Arizona, sweating my guts out, feeling like it's really, really real around the corner. And I am so excited. It's the last race. A lot of the other races went awry in my brain because of the expectations I had for it and the ways that I kept tripping. But this time, I love this trail. Like, first off, I love this trail. And then I fell in love with my partner on this trail. And then I have 10 of my close homies racing this trail, and just really remembering what pulled me into the sport in the first place was self-growth, self-actualization, and family and community. All of these aspects kind of pull in together to make these races so much more about than winning. It's about competing alongside each other to pull out the best selves we have. So just getting here, thinking about the starting line, and how many more friends and how much more community we've built up this year. It's I'm so excited. And there's a handful of other people who are lining up to finish out the Triple Crown Challenge. So it really feels like a beautiful culmination of a season of community building and growth.
That sounds awesome. This may be a crazy question, but is it always in this order, Tour Divide, CT, and then the Arizona Trail? Or can people do it?
So Triple Crown Challenge, the goal of it is to start all of these major, the 3 major US bikepacking races with the Grand, which is kind of a community agreed upon start date. And they're not formal races, really. They're all actually considered individual time trials, except we all line up together at the same time. So the goal is to do the Grand Depart when everybody lines up, so that everybody has the same conditions, everybody has the same time to prep, etc. And it used to be in a different order, but that's when the Grand Depart for the Arizona Trail was in the spring, and now it's in the fall. So went from the first race of the Triple Crown Challenge to AZT being the last race of the Triple Crown Challenge.
Very cool. Well, I really love that part in the movie. I think when you just touch more on how you are really the happiest when you're riding your bike. And I think that it's so cool. I love riding my bike, but it's also extra cool to hear just how you're getting together with your community and fellow racers. I feel like that's another thing I've noticed in reading things and watching other interviews and chats with you, is that you're such an awesome, I guess, the word I'm looking for. I don't know if contender is the right word that I want to say, or, participant, and just how, you're just really enjoying there to enjoy the race and being on your bike instead of the competition. I think more so in helping, other people kind of just, I don't know, live that joy out on your bike. Does that make sense?
Be real. I still try to compete, just it doesn't always go according to plan.
It doesn't, it will, yeah. I mean, I guess not being someone very familiar with ultra endurance races, I think, my style of biking is very casual and chill. So when I think of races, I very much so think of the basic running, rolling, or riding around in circles kind of race, where it really just feels so competitive and you're right next to someone kind of competition, versus the ultra endurance racing definitely seems like there's so much more camaraderie there than I feel in other races that I see. That's just my view.
Yeah, well, there is. And that's kind of because in a sense, you're racing the ghosts of all these people, because they're on the trail, whether they're behind you or in front of you, but you often just don't see them when you're really competing at the kind of the front edge of the pack. So it's kind of this thing that you conjure up in your mind, but also with my girlfriends who are doing this, and some of my other friends, shit, like we send voice memos back and forth to each other, and or text messages, or just to like, even though we're competing, we got each other lifted up, but also it's like I'm not trying to let the person, like, even though I'm sending them encouraging messages, like I do not want them to catch me. So it's like this really weird competition, but love too. It's really beautiful.
Awesome. Well, we are gonna have to wrap up shortly. We're getting a notice here that we have 9 minutes. So I think we'll go to the last question and then just kind of wrap up. Maybe we'll get Vince out here to say, hi. But last question, what's one of your favorite things about riding a single speed, riding the Chumba on a single speed? Is there anything in particular you'd like to share about riding Chumba bikes?
Sure. I mentioned a little bit about some of the, like, if you ask me any different day, like why I ride single speed, I can give you like a basic answer, a poetic answer, like this huge existential answer. Cause it is a spectrum of like, at the most, like at the bottom line of all of it is like, the bike is a tool for freedom, and it's simple, and keeping it single speed is just keeping it simple. Your bike has no gears, you're just out there. It's just so easy, in the sense of like the bicycle as a tool. Then it's like this bigger reflection of my body and myself, and like who I am and what I'm capable of. And just, I don't know. Yeah, I just love it. And I'm like a purist asshole in the sense of, isn't it just more beautiful if it's just like you and your bike versus the world, instead of you and your bike and your derailleur and like whatever. Okay. But in terms of like my Chumba, I mean, I think the coolest part of it for me is like, knowing Mark, knowing the person that is welding my bicycle. It's just like, it's not just like a bicycle, it's a literal functional piece of art to me. And usually they'll like send me when I get my bike, like, every once in a while I'll get a text message and I get to pick out my own serial number, or they'll etch something cute hidden on there and I won't see it until I'm like rebuilding my bike one of these days. Or I just like look at the welds and know that like Mark sat there and he was probably playing some like rad music in the background. And, I know he gets to go home and hang out with his dog and his wife like, I know the person building my bike. And I know that like the reason I became a customer first of Chumba was just because how beautiful the process was. I was welding and I was machining, and I know what it takes to make something like that. So I really wanted to like support artisans and craftspeople. Like I bought my first Chumba, not really knowing them, but we became family. So, it's like, it's art. It's not just a bike. And I love that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Aw. Well, I think that's all of the questions that we have time for. Again, I cannot thank you enough. I'm looking forward to showing your film, Stronger Together, at the next Bike Story Night. Once again, I'm Valerie, the host of Bike Story Night. Is there anything else you want to share with folks about?
Oh, thanks for making some time to ask some good questions. I'm grateful.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, let me see if I can get Vince over to say bye, say hi and bye. Vince? Vince? We have a few more minutes. We'll swing Vince over to get him out of the office. Thanks to Vince for sort of setting this up. We had been talking for a while, I don't know, maybe like a year, like trying to collaborate and come together as a team. And I'm super excited. They're going to come to Bike Story Night on Sunday. And then, you know, he offered to connect me with you. And I cannot believe, again, we are here. We're having this chat. Thank you so much again. Thank you, Vince.
Yeah, thanks for your time and efforts.
I feel like I have said so much more than I normally say at the events, and it's so fun to do something like different. But again, it is wild and crazy. I feel like out of body experience. Being in Chumba feels like an out of body experience, and then like talking to Alexandra, sitting next to Vince. So you all chime in.
Yeah, well, I couldn't hear what you guys were interviewing about, so I can't wait to listen to it. But yeah, we're thrilled to have the lawnmower going outside right now. And,
I can't actually hear it. I was just yelling at Johnny for like, he's like rattling all the wrappers.
Yeah. Did you guys talk about what you're gonna do like in 2 weeks?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about the AZT and just like how actually stoked I am. It was like, I was nervous for the Tour Divide, traumatized for the Colorado Trail, and now I'm just like light and feeling excited.
Yeah. Well, and did you mention anything about the lemon push?
Oh no, I didn't get to talk about the lemon push, but
yeah,
last year,
it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, last year, myself and 4 other renegades pushed our bikes up it's like the official AZT Wilderness Bypass on Mount Lemmon, and we were pretty much like just kind of like peer pressuring the race director to see if he would make it an official part of the course, and he kept saying no, and then he wrote it and he texted me and was like, you know, I always thought it was too hard, but the feeling that I had when I rolled into Summerhaven, which is like the town at the top of the mountain, was really powerful. Like I felt so cool for having taken dirt all the way up the mountain that he and he made tweaks that are like way more realistic. So it's like a really great compromise of like pushing the limits of the sport. So we're stoked, like our little single speed crew, there were 5 of us who attempted it, and 5 of us all finished the entire Arizona Trail. So we're like, it's 100% success rate so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really cool to like really stick to your guns and believe in something and then watch it kind of like make it its way into the official race. We're all like really excited.
Yeah.
Well, once again, I'm super excited for you. I'm super excited to watch the dots. So you have one more dot follower here.
Yes.
I'm gonna probably get a couple of other people who have no idea what dots are to follow dots. Well, we have just like,
for sure.
I'm excited. We have just one more minute, like literally. I feel like if you wanted to mention, just for folks that are going to watch Stronger Together in 30 seconds, how would you intro Stronger Together?
Stronger Together, it was a story inspired by my mother's journey to provide a good life for myself and my siblings. It's so well made. It's so awesome. I'm excited to watch it once again. I'll watch it probably every year. So great. There's a lot too, to be fair. But thank you for having me on. This was awesome. Thank you, Alexandra. Totally thank you. Yelling into the background. So cool. All right. Bye, Alexandra. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, Vince. Bye, Valerie. Bye. Later.